In today's Leeds news, Backroom exit that Leeds can't afford to get wrong, Gnonto exit inevitable, increasing talk around Wilson, and Rumour Mill stories on Diomande and Trelo. Morning everyone, welcome to Leeds View for your news on Thursday the 11th of June. I hope your week is going really well so far. A bit of stuff to get stuck into today. Some rumour mill noise starting to bubble up as we get closer and closer to the opening of the transfer window this Monday. This Monday. The podcast is out from last night, myself and Adam Pope doing the annual bit in the middle stream where we talked about the end of the season, the start of the next season, and the contract issues for Leeds United and what they need to face into this summer. So you can check that out if you want to. Also, we will be doing watch-alongs for the World Cup over on bigup.com. If you want to join us there, you can. We're doing Mexico and South Africa in the opening game tonight. We'll be covering a couple of games. They're listed in the post section of the channel. If you want to know what games we are covering, we'll be covering some of the England games as well. Uruguay match thrown in there because why not? Why not? So you can check all that out if that is your thing. Let's start off today with Leeds' backroom exit and a replacement that Leeds absolutely have to get right. Most of the summer focus is always on incoming transfers and outgoings. That goes without saying. But there should be equal importance applied to some of the people behind the scenes that Leeds United will need to get sorted this summer. Murray Eisenberg, as we've already talked about, has left the club. He had a significant impact in the Ellen Road redevelopment plans, as well as just general commercial revenue from the club. But it's not just him, and Leeds have got exits that they need to replace, and they need to get them right this summer. Leeds head of sports science Tom Robinson left the club last week after 15 years at the club, and he joined way back in 2011, and he started off with the academy and worked his way all the way up to the head of the sports science department, where he has been the head of for the last 4 years. Robinson leaving the club isn't to go off and join another club. He seems to be stepping away from football, at least at the moment for now, but it does leave a gap that Leeds will need to get sorted. So why is this important? Leeds medical team's record over the past 3 years has been incredible, and everyone noticed it in the last 12 months, considering the players that Leeds brought in, their medical records, and how much Leeds managed to keep them on the pitch over the course of this season. As of May 1st this year, Leeds United had the fewest players out injured of any side in the Premier League for the last campaign, and that's massive. That's not a fluke. That's structure, that's process, that's experience, and having the right people in the right positions at the club. And Daniel Farke has also called this medical team Champions League level before, and Parag Murate, when it comes to hiring people, has a very clear philosophy on this. Hire the right people in the right positions and you'll be successful. And he's not been wrong so far. But it is worth noting that although Robinson is leaving the club, it's not leaving huge gaps in the medical department. Daryl Carter, the head of physiotherapy, is still there and remains there. Henry McStay, who's the head of medical, remains. And Chris Domangala, who has got a huge amount of praise from the fitness side of things, remains as the head of fitness at the club. So all good there, pretty strong foundation. But Robinson leaving does leave a pretty sizable gap. As I say, Parag Murate has got a very strong track record in hiring the right people for the right roles, and he'll need to get this one right. The sports science and medical department is vitally important to the club, and that has been shown over the last couple of years, no more than the last 12 months. So getting a replacement with the right amount of quality, experience, and a proven professional will be really, really important to get done this summer. Robinson's exit is a loss, as I say, but the foundation of the club is still very, very strong. But it is one of the off-the-field positions that Leeds United need to make sure they can get bang on the money this summer. As I say, Eisenberg has left the club. He needs to be replaced with someone of equal quality and level. And so will Tom Robinson. We wish Tom Robinson all the best in his future endeavours. But yeah, he's got a bit of work to do off the pitch as well as on the pitch this summer. Let's move on and talk about an on the pitch one. It's not a proper summer transfer window without constant and consistent rumours around Wilfried Gnonto. Last summer feels like the only summer that we got where there was little to no talk about Gnonto's future at the club. Everyone seemed pretty content at that moment in time, and it's all popped up and kicked off again this summer, and more so over the last couple of weeks. And it probably shouldn't be a surprise, but it also probably shouldn't be labelled or stuck to Willie Gnonto's back in this situation. Parag Murate's comments last week definitely have kicked this off again. He talked about fringe players' lack of minutes and new players coming in that will need minutes. And that points to players like Wilfried Gnonto, who played 535 Premier League minutes last season. He only started 4 of the 23 league appearances that he had, and he had to resign himself to FA Cup starts and cameo appearances off the bench. So it is easy to connect the dots on this and see why Wilfried Gnonto is being talked about as an exit away from the club. And everyone has had an opinion on this. Former Leeds United striker Jermaine Beckford is the latest one to weigh in with his 2 cents, and he feels that Gnonto exit from the club is inevitable, but not something he likes to see. And I don't think he's on his own in that situation. But he was speaking to the Yorkshire Post about this, and he had the following to say about a potential exit. I do think it's inevitable, as much as it pains me to say, because I love Wilfried. I think he's fantastic. He's a funny guy. He's a lovely guy. Always has time for people. And when you look at him on the pitch as well, he's a brilliant football player. Neat and tidy, very quick. He's just frustrated. He's gone from being a regular starter to being, with all due respect, a bench warmer. A player that spends the majority of time on the bench and comes on for the last 5, 10, 15 minutes of games. As an attacking player, you thrive on confidence, and you don't get much confidence when you're sitting on the bench. I don't think he's wrong in saying that, but he also points out how visible his disappointment has been at 22 years of age. It's very, very hard to hide your disappointment when you're not playing football. It's hard to hide your disappointment in the best of situations, let alone in a very high profile position with cameras on you every single week. But Beckford did go on, and he did say from a Leeds United perspective, he does understand the financial reasons, and Leeds need to bring in a little bit of revenue this summer. And again, that has been talked about. And Gnonto does represent profit off the pitch. Beckford also went on to say that a move away from the club is probably in the best interest of Willie Gnonto right now. And that's probably fair to say, for being honest about it. And as much as I feel that he should have been the natural replacement for Noah Okafor when he was out with the side last year, Daniel Farke didn't think so and went with a different formation, well, slightly different formation when he didn't have Noah Okafor. But at 22 years of age, you can totally understand why a player like Willie Gnonto would want to be going and playing more football. He needs it for his development and his career. And if Roberto Mancini is going to be the next Italian manager, if that hasn't been confirmed already, he's always liked Willie Gnonto, and he'll want to get back involved in the senior side of the Italian team. So also on the talk about a move away from the club, Freiburg are still said to be interested in Willie Gnonto. The issue is said to be a price tag, but when you look at it all in black and white, Willie Gnonto's 22 years of age. He's had Premier League experience. He's got 147 appearances in total for Leeds United. He scored 23 goals and got 17 assists. If you were looking at that in black and white as a player being linked with your club, you would say, yeah, that offers great value, high ceiling, players developing really, really well. I think it would be a mistake to let him go, but if he's not going to play football, you can understand the reasons why he is going to go. I think somebody sees value in Willie Gnonto and will make a move for him this summer. But, you know, he's got time left on his contract and Leeds aren't going to sell for cheap. Nor should they. But disappointing situation. I would have liked to see Willie Gnonto far more involved with Leeds. Let's move on for now. Transfer window doesn't open for a couple more days, Monday. But it already feels like the talk around Harry Wilson will be the dominant story of the summer transfer window. Hopefully it gets sorted out sooner rather than later. So we're not talking about this in 4 or 5 weeks' time. But over the last 24 hours, there has been increased speculation again on Harry Wilson's future and where he will end up. So we're going to talk about it a little bit because some of it is interesting when we start to try and connect the dots on this. There are plenty of people trying to persuade Harry Wilson that a move to Leeds United is in his best interest. Last week, Ethan Ampadu spoke about it, and he said he's trying to convince everybody to come to Leeds United, and he felt that it was a pretty easy sell. Ellen Road is a very special place. Leeds United is a very special club. There's all of that. Now, Gordon Strachan, former Leeds United captain and winger, has also had his say on this, and he said the following. Harry Wilson to Leeds, there are 10 goals a season in there. I think he'd be a great signing. He can score 10 goals a season in the Premier League, and he's free. That's definitely something to be looked at. Absolutely. He wasn't a superstar kid, but now he looks to be a real asset. In the last 3 days, we know that the odds on Harry Wilson joining Leeds have been slashed from 4-1 to 2-1. Now, as I've said before, I don't always take that as a metric for any kind of credibility on a story. However, somebody is confident that this deal will get done if they've dropped money on him to do that. Now, some people just like dropping money, but there you go. You can read into that what you want. There is the other side of it, and that's the Leeds United's transfer strategy, or how Leeds operate a transfer window. And it's dead silent around Harry Wilson. And that's not just from Leeds' perspective. That's in general. It's completely silent. We know Fulham put a contract in front of him. Aston Villa are said to have made a move for him and were labelled as favourites at one point. And we know Leeds have put a contract in front of him. But outside of that, there's nothing been said about this. Outside of people speculating and commenting on it, there's very little credibility. And that does feel like a very Leedsy thing to do. You also add into this the ITKs are the in the nose. Now, again, not all of them are always right. Some of them are very wrong all the time. But there are one or two who seem to get things on the money. And in the last 24 hours, some of them believe that there is a strong possibility that Leeds could even nab Wilson. Now, again, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be very honest and transparent about it. Don't take what I'm going to say next with any level of seriousness. I'm just putting it out there so you know. There have been some messages sent in to us from some people that I trust, some that I don't, but some that I do trust, that have said that Leeds are confident of getting a deal done for Harry Wilson. And again, I wouldn't read too much into that. It still falls into pinch of salt, regardless of whether I've been told it or not, because they've got them wrong. Someone told me about Noah Okafor last year. That one was right, but I was also told about other players. I think it turned out to be wrong. Same this year. So that can happen. But it does feel like an interesting one when you start to line up all the dots on this. He fits the bill with what Leeds are looking for. He's a free transfer. They can afford to spend probably a little bit more money on wages. And it's deathly quiet around this one, really, when you talk about credible sources on it. So you can decide yourself what you want to believe on this. Because as I said before, I'm not your mother. I'm not going to tell you what to think. You can decide yourself whether you believe it or not. We'll see. It feels like a very Leedsy thing to do that. It's dead quiet, and then Monday morning the transfer window opens and Leeds announce Harry Wilson in a Leeds shirt. He could very easily pop up in an Aston Villa one. But I'm just lining up the Leeds United side of dots of things. I'm sure there's somebody on an Aston Villa side doing the exact same thing. But again, you can read into it if you want to. There's the detail. Let's talk about the Rumour Mill stuff and get one story out of the way and also then focus on one a little bit more. Right, really strong links this morning with Usman Diomande yet again. I'll give you again the detail on this and whether there's any credibility to this story. Ebola are the ones that have pushed this again. They've written another article about it today, and they claim that Leeds United are ready to make a bid for Diomande. Now, I would say this about Ebola. They are normally very strong from a credibility perspective. However, they did run the story on Hidemasa Marita and pushed it quite a lot before it was rubbished by the club. Now, they shouldn't lose all their credibility with that, but they do lose some of it when it comes to links to Leeds United. Anyway, they claim in their article this morning that Leeds United are preparing a €40 million move for Diomande. That's about £37.5 million. And they also state that there are €10 million worth of additions, about £8 million worth of additions. And that's why people are taking it seriously, because there's add-ons been mentioned in the story, which people think makes it more credible. He's 22 years of age, Ivorian international, and if this is to be true, then he would become Leeds United's record signing at 22 years of age. Leeds transfer kitty is rumoured, not confirmed, but rumoured to be in and around £100 million this summer. And it would be a massive chunk of cash to be spent on a player in a position that Leeds probably don't really need an upgrade in. He is a right-footed centre-back. Leeds need a left-footed centre-back. Leeds don't need a replacement for Joe Roland, who was fantastic last season for Leeds United. Ebola claim that Leeds are very keen on him, but it all comes from their sources on the Portuguese side. It's not coming from any sources connected to Leeds or the Leeds side. The fee lines up with what Sporting have previously slapped on his head. However, there are very strong links between Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea and Diomande as well. Now, from a credibility check perspective on this, Sporting being open to negotiations, as the article labels it, feels more like editorialising than it does like any credible facts on this. Sporting have also previously said they want to keep hold of the player this summer, so there's that. And any suggestions that Leeds United could jump ahead of an Arsenal to try and get a player like this, if their interest is genuinely real in it, feels a little bit wide of the mark. So I'm not convinced with this one. I still don't know if he fits exactly what Leeds need. Is he a very good centre-half? He's excellent. He's a very good footballing centre-back. He would definitely add an awful lot to the Leeds United squad. But it's a huge chunk of change to go in a position that Leeds have got players already in. When you look at the left centre-back position, Leeds are desperately lacking on that position. They've only got Pascal Struijk, and if he goes or gets injured, there's a problem there for Leeds. That seems to be the priority. Do you splurge a ton of your budget this summer on a position that really you don't really need? Unless you see it as an opportunity to get a player in that you might not get again in the future. And they showed that with Strand Larson in December. They made a move because they saw it as a opportunity in the market. But I don't know. I'm not convinced on it just yet. Could be wrong. Fingers crossed I am. Leeds got more money than they're making out. Great. The other one to talk about is Mariano Troilo from Parma. So this popped up this morning. It's worth just getting rid of this one out of the way. There's no credible information on this. Saving you the hassle of looking around on this one. Looked into it. No information from any semi-credible or credible sources at all. Fulham have already been labelled as a club that have made a move for him, around €20 million. So that seems to be that. Leeds appear to be tagged onto this report from an engagement perspective for online accounts. The Leeds side of this originated from an anonymous Twitter account. That's dodgy enough in itself without anything else being added to it. So for me, absolutely nothing in that story at all. Save yourself the hassle. If you see it, it's not coming from anybody even remotely credible. and does feel like it's all just for clicks. Anyway, that will be it for me today, folks. Massive thank you as always for supporting this channel. If you want to like, subscribe, you can. And if you want to check out any of our links through Fanatics, if you're buying the Leeds United away shirt this year, you can buy it through our official partnership with Leeds United and Fanatics. Links for that are down below. And we'll be back tonight over on bigup.com for Mexico, South Africa. More of a chat along than an actual watch along, but you can join me there if you feel like it. And you can check out last night's podcast with Adam Pope, which is linked over that way somewhere. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon. See you later.